right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Wargames Podcast number 29. Joining me tonight is the Lobster, as per usual, and he is on time. Everybody, take note of this. Lobster is on time. He was actually early, so yeah, be proud. And also, Staff Sergeant Minatazaki, who you guys will hear us refer to as Minnie, a member of our TACP, is also joining us tonight, but I think right now he's actually towards the end of a PlayerUnknown's game. Am I correct?
No, he lost.
Oh, he lost. You got your ass kicked.
And it was Radical Heights.
Oh, okay. Well, you're still a disappointment to me.
Was that Lamb of God?
No, that's Avatar. Who you should definitely check out. Actually, I don't know if I've told you about those guys yet.
No.
Avatar is fucking epic, dude. The lead singer paints up his face kind of crow style. He's a total fucking character, man. Like his just kind of his style and his mentality remind me a lot of Iggy Pop, just like that quintessential rock and roll frontman.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome.
Avatar. Yeah, sound pretty good.
Yeah, I definitely dig them. They aren't nearly as popular as what they should be, in my opinion. But yeah, music podcast was a couple weeks ago. Damn it. Or yeah. All right, guys. So tonight we've got quite a few topics to go over. A lot of news and stuff has gone on over the last week or so in terms of gaming. Got a lot of stuff to get through. Really, I know we're not going to get through all of it, but we'll give it a try. So the first thing to go over is a question that I seen raised a while ago, a couple weeks ago, and I've kind of put off talking about it until I could really, I guess, kind of come up with an answer that I was able to think about for a minute. And that question was: does playing games for work change the way you play a game? Do you find yourself less able to enjoy a game because you're doing it for work? And I know myself personally, the majority of the time, no. Usually when I'm live streaming and you guys are, hanging out and bullshitting with me, it makes me enjoy a game more. Especially like when I'm playing Assetto Corsa and, I'm driving around. Sometimes it can get kind of boring, if I'm racing by myself, basically, and at that point I'm just out there hot lapping like I was talking about yesterday during my BMW race. It can get kind of boring, so it's really nice to have you guys there to be able to chat with. It gives me something to do. It increases my enjoyment of the game. Now, when a brand new game comes out that I know I need to play, I will find myself enjoying it a little bit less when I'm, for instance, sitting here taking notes while I'm playing the game, because I know that's something that I'm going to want to talk about on the podcast the following week or so on. So I now find myself, no matter what new game I'm playing, when I fire up that game, I'm sitting here with a notepad in front of me to start taking notes on what I like, what I don't like, certain characteristics of the game, so on. So I can then talk about it with you guys on the podcast the next week, or even in later streams or so on. That can be a little bit less enjoyable. I did have a lot of fun with Far Cry 5, but I did find that aspect kind of killing it for me, that I would stop and write shit down and then, continue on. But the vast majority of the time, for me, playing games while live streaming increases the fun of them. It may be different. Actually, I'm pretty sure the answer would be different if I wasn't live streaming. If I was only recording content to put up on YouTube, I think it would be a lot different for me, because I don't have that immediate interaction with you guys, which is the whole reason that I stream. Really, YouTube content is just a byproduct if I get around to it. Streaming is really what it's about for me, because I get to interact with you. Now, Loster, you've been streaming a lot. Uh, what's your thoughts on this? Do you find yourself enjoying a game any less because you're, you know, somewhat playing it for work?
There are games that I agree with you. There are games that make it. I think there are games that are more stream friendly than others. I think that's the best way to put it. I don't feel like Far Cry 5 is like a fun game to like stream with. As goofy and as silly as that game is, I really wasn't concerned with what was happening in chat, mainly because I just wanted to have fun. I just wanted to like fly around in helicopters and be goofy and run over buffalo with jeeps and shit like that.
Right.
Um, I felt like any interaction really wouldn't have mattered to me either way. And when I did stream Far Cry 5, I very rarely actually even looked at my chat. I was just having too much fun.
Right, because
So
you were too immersed in what was going on to
yeah,
really,
same. It's the same thing
chat.
with like ArmA. I don't look over at my chat when I'm, when I was playing ArmA. I was too involved in what was happening. I didn't really
Right.
care what my chat was saying.
Yeah,
Um,
for me, ArmA more so than what Far Cry 5 was. Far Cry, I still had a really good time streaming it, but ArmA, yeah, I can definitely appreciate that. It takes way too much concentration on your part to be able to play the game and do your job. You can't really read chat all that much, and luckily most guys know, hey, like, I'm in the middle of a fucking firefight or I've got a shit ton of radio traffic going on. I'm not going to be able to answer your question, It's I don't know, it's one of those. And ArmA, I still enjoy streaming it though. That's the weird thing, is it's difficult to stream because, like you said, you're so into it, you can't really interact all that much. I definitely can't unless I'm in Zeus, and even then, sometimes it's very difficult. But I still enjoy streaming it, which is kind of weird because I don't get that interaction that I like so much about streaming. Uh, for you, Loster, have you come across any games that you're just like, yeah, I don't want to stream this because I want this. I just want to enjoy this for myself.
um, yeah. There's games that I've thought about streaming and I just don't do it because I just want to enjoy it for myself. Far Cry 5 is one of them. I used to like my first couple nights I streamed it, and then I'm like, no, I just want to play it now. At this point, I don't really care if anybody watches me play it or not. I just want to play it and I just want to enjoy it myself without having to. There's like well, I'll answer your question first. Far Cry is one of them. I'm trying to think. Um, Let me just. There's games that I've been playing recently on my desktop here. Like I played the Forest with my wife. People don't got it. I don't want people. People don't have to see that. Like me and her fucking around, chopping down trees. Like no one needs to see that. It's not really
Right? You
entertainment for
you
anybody.
run you running away from cannibals while she saves you.
Yeah, exactly. Um, Stronghold. I love Stronghold. That's an old game. But
Yeah,
I thought
well,
about streaming it. I really have thought about streaming it, but at the same
I think
time,
it
it's
would be
like,
kind of cool, honestly.
really?
I love
Yeah,
Stronghold,
maybe
man,
I'll do it.
but
Maybe I'll stream it.
we're old school RTS guys, so of course,
Yeah,
it would be like, hey, I've thought about streaming Red Alert 2. I'd be like, fucking do it, and
yeah.
I would be the only person that would
I
watch.
have too. If it wasn't such a fucked up, like, if it wasn't so incompatible with Windows 10,
Right?
I thought about streaming Red Alert 2. Now that you mention it. Um,
Yeah.
but then there's other games like dude, like fucking GTA. It's so much fun to stream GTA,
Mm-hmm.
and because so much goofy shit happens that like the whole thing with the cow when I ran over the cow, that was fucking hilarious, and it was more
That has now
hilarious.
become a thing that if we hit an animal, we fucking lost her it.
Yeah, exactly. It was even made more hilarious by the fact that I look over at my chat and like the few people that are watching are fucking dying
Mm-hmm.
because I just smashed into a cow. That just like enhances the experience. I think there's games that just fit really well. I know you're not a fan of them, but I think battle royale games are very streamer friendly
Oh,
because you can just
absolutely.
keep grinding them out and just keep doing it. Your chat can remind you of things. There's 20 people left. There's 10 people left.
Yeah,
You
and
missed you missed something back there.
you do have kind of lulls in the action where you can kind of interact with the chat a
Yeah.
little bit, not much, but I think more so than like what I can with ArmA. Like when I have played PUBG, like I can interact with my chat a lot more in PUBG than what I can most of the time in ArmA.
hmm And for some reason, I can't figure it out, but for some reason, whenever I stream PC Building Simulator, I just attract people that just want to chat and talk about the shit that I'm doing.
I
Like,
honestly think, and I have played that game. It is actually very fun. It's pretty addictive. I
yeah,
think that's because of how interested, obviously, like our communities and stuff are in PC gaming. We're PC gamers, and a lot of people either A, don't really know what they're doing when it comes to building a PC, so it's interesting to see how stuff like that goes together, or B, they do know what they're doing and they want to see it done in the game and see if it's done properly. And also, either try and help you out or call you a fucking idiot for hooking something up that isn't supposed to be hooked up there.
wow, well, that happened to me in my second or third night streaming that game. I had a desktop and I couldn't get the case fans to turn on no matter what I did. I
You
couldn't. I
forget to
think it might
plug
have
them
been a
into the MOBO.
I think it might have been a bug, to be honest with you,
Oh,
because I did everything that I could possibly do to make these fans work, and they just didn't work. So I think it might have been a bug, but it was driving me fucking nuts.
yeah. And honestly, I think like I got more into that game after building my own PC. After putting this one together and everything, I was much more interested in that because I had then done it before, and that was kind of my attraction to it. Was, well, okay, how detailed do they really get with this? And
Yeah.
surprisingly, quite fucking detailed. Like it's very impressive for a fucking early
Uh,
access game.
yeah, I'll say they put a lot of there's a lot of heart in that game, definitely.
Oh yeah,
I But to answer your the original question that started this whole thing, playing yes, when you're playing games for the purposes of streaming. I, I stream one because I would like to make this into something I can make a living off of one day. That's a realistic thing for me. That if I could survive off of just streaming on a regular basis, I would do it because that means I get to spend more time with my family at home. I don't have to fucking
right.
worry about being late for work, getting fired, like all the jobs that I've been fired from in my life. But at the same time, it is something that I've come to genuinely enjoy doing. However, it does detract from some games, and especially when you're not quite in the mood to be streaming, but you
Mm-hmm.
kind of have to stream. Things kind of irritate you more. You can't make mistakes that you would normally make. And every time you have to get up and go do something, it's fucking infuriating because you have to walk away from the stream.
Yeah,
And downtime
downtime
with
is death.
the short attention span of the fucking peanut gallery out there. You might as well just turn the shit off
Yep.
because you'll lose half your audience if your downtime is exceeds 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah,
I, I've
definitely. I mean,
I've done that. I've walked away with 15 people watching, and I came back. I had to use the bathroom. I wanted to have a cigarette. I came back 6 minutes later, and I was down to 4 people. 12 people walked away.
hmm yeah, and I can definitely appreciate that. Like, that's why, like, when I sit down to stream, like, I've got my coffee ready to go, my smoke's ready to go, I've got all my shit good. But, the vast majority of the time, because I run my fucking cock flaps so much, I end up needing a fuck ton of liquids while I'm sitting here streaming. So, like, I'll have to go grab a cup of coffee, like, in the middle of the stream. And every single time I do, the minute I say, all right, guys, I gotta step away for a minute to grab a cup of coffee, immediately in the back of my head is, okay, how many people am I about to lose in the stream? Every single time. It doesn't matter what's going on. I could have 80 people watching, I could have 6 people watching. The minute I say, all right, guys, I'll be right back, it's instantly, how many people am I about to lose? Which
Yeah.
is fucking horrible. Like, it's a shitty feeling to have. Like, guys, I have to, take care of a natural human fucking thing and go take a piss. Please don't leave me.
Please,
Please.
please be here when I come back.
Please love me.
I guess drum's the exception of the rule. Mr.
Well, yeah,
fucking
drum.
10-year-old bladder.
Yeah, drum leaves every 10 fucking minutes. Uh, but real quickly, uh, me and Loster obviously already stream. Minnie, have you ever thought about getting into streaming or making videos or anything like that?
I have considered at one point in my life to maybe try streaming and stuff, but I haven't really gotten to the point where I was like, I'm gonna commit to this and like spend the hours or whatever trying to grind out the stream. Mainly because of real life conflicts and whatnot. But I do know the struggles of like trying to start out streaming and stuff and going into esports and whatnot because I actually do work for esports, like hosting some more esports tournaments and stuff. So I know a lot of players who, when they start out, have a lot of backlash from family and stuff
Mm-hmm.
regarding that kind of stuff, like going into esports because it's not really like it's kind of a hit or miss sometimes. Like sometimes you actually do get big, sometimes you just don't really hit off anywhere and you just kind of stay at a stalemate kind of for a
Mm-hmm.
while. So I do understand the struggle, and that's what kind of put me off, at least. So I just stream for fun now. I just kind of like record my gameplay for anyone who's interested in watching and just kind of upload it. But I don't really expect to make a kind of living off of that at this point.
Right. Excuse me. And thank you, Iber. I know you'll never leave me. It's interesting though that you bring up the esports aspect of it. And I think it's not even just esports, really just, streaming in general, as far as like getting big and stuff like that. It is very closely related to major league sports in the sense that, not everybody's going to make it. Just because you have a really nice computer and your game looks pretty doesn't mean you're going to be popular.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
A lot.
definitely.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's so many different things that can come into play, but a large portion of it, just like with real sports, a large portion of you potentially being able to get that shot isn't just, natural God-given talent. It's putting in the time and putting in the work. And it's the
Yep.
same with streaming and, with esports and things along those lines is you got to put in the time. You got to put in the hours. Last Sunday, I streamed OSUT from 1 to 3, and then I streamed Havoc 2's platoon training from like 4 to 6, and then I streamed the operation from like 8 to 11. So it was pretty much an entire day of streaming and doing stuff. I made, I think, $5 that day. Which can be kind of disheartening when, you work for like 8, 9, 10 hours and make $5. But on the other side of things, my channel grew. I got more followers. And there's other days where I'll make $500 in a 2-hour stream. So it's
I
very
envy you.
it's very up and down, and it can be stressful as fuck. When you do have those days where you stream all day and don't make anything, or if you stream for a week and make $20 and it's like shit, and am I doing the right thing here? Did I make the right decision? And you can really find yourself struggling with that and struggling with, do I want to continue streaming? Do I want to continue putting in hours after hours after hours of, of doing this? But, I'm very lucky in the sense that I don't entirely rely on this. I have other things to fall back on. So it's not like, well, this isn't working out, I'm fucked. So I'm able to just keep trucking ahead and I can put in that time no matter what's really going on, hopefully. But I can definitely appreciate, the amount of work that goes into building a channel, obviously because I'm doing it, but also probably the biggest streamer I watch, or the biggest two streamers I watch, are Gold Glove and Co Carnage, and the amount of time that those guys put into streaming and content creation is just mind-boggling. I mean, they're streaming 6-7 days a week, anywhere from fucking 4 to 12 hours a day for years on end. and it's like, holy shit, dude! Like, you guys deserve to be big. Like, I don't care necessarily if you have the greatest personality on the planet. Some people may love you, some people may hate you, but you're putting in that kind of work, you fucking deserve something out of it. And they have, luckily. They have a very good following. But I don't think a lot of people, at least in the general public, really understand how much time and how much work goes into it. It's not just sitting there in front of a computer. And I would
Yeah, it's
have
not.
to hazard a guess that, you know, guys like that, guys like Co and Goldie and stuff, they definitely get affected by playing games for a living and it being work. And I would have to hazard a guess that there are days that they're just like, I don't want to stream. I just want to sit back and play a fucking video game with my friends and have fun. I don't want to be entertaining. I would have to think they have those thoughts because I have those thoughts. But again, as far as the main question itself, does playing games for a living change the way that you play a game? Myself, not really. For the vast majority of the time, I mean, it does change the game for me. Like I said, oftentimes it makes the game more entertaining than just playing it by myself. But there are rare exceptions where it's like, yeah, I don't want to stream this. I want to enjoy this myself and not have to be entertaining, not have to talk through all of it. Just sit down and play a game and have fun. But like I said, that's a very rare occasion for me. So, with that done, the next thing I want to move on to is very recently we had the 2017 BAFTA Game Awards, and the full awards are out there. If you guys want to go check them out, then you're more than welcome to. I'm just going to go over a couple of them that were kind of interesting to me or, just kind of caught my eye for some reason. So the first one to go over, the top game at the BAFTA Game Awards, went to What Remains of Edith Finch, beating out AAA games such as Zelda Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, Horizon Zero Dawn, Hellblade, Assassin's Creed Origins, all games that people were kind of expecting to get that top spot. The thing that was odd to me is What Remains of Edith Finch. One, I'd never even heard of it. But it lost in 6 other categories, and the only category it won was Best Game. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice won in 5 categories, including Best Game Beyond Entertainment, but lost Best Game. So, have you guys ever played it? The What's Left of Edith Finch?
No, I never even heard about it until we talked about it last night. So, and then I looked it up, and yeah, I've never, like, usually I'll catch an article or something, something on Kotaku or Rock Paper Shotgun.
Right,
Something.
yeah, somewhere.
Nothing.
Yeah, I had never heard of it. Minnie, had you ever heard of it or played it?
I haven't played it, but I did watch this one video that actually talked a little bit about the story of it. So I have a general understanding or like a very basic understanding of the game. But from what I heard, it was actually a really well told story from the video that I watched. So I would assume that maybe that's why if you incorporate like all the aspects of a game, the storytelling, the visual, and whatnot, then I would assume that's the one of the things that they would check when trying to
Right.
nominate a game for this category.
Yeah, as far as what I understand of it, from what research I did on it after seeing these awards, it is a very story-based game. I mean, it's really, the game is just telling you a story. There's not, a fuck ton of action or anything like that. And now joining us, Smith. Smith, have you ever heard of What Remains of Edith Finch? No? Okay, good talk.
No, sorry. No.
There he is. So, the other game that I mentioned there, Hellblade, that won 5 categories, including Best Game Beyond Entertainment. First of all, what the fuck is Best Game Beyond Entertainment mean? Like I have no idea what the hell that's supposed to mean. I mean, granted, I probably could have done some research and found out what the criteria are for that category, but does that make any sense to you guys? Best game beyond
Like
entertainment?
it's not just a, it's not,
It's not
no,
just a video game? Like that?
Probably like like a history thing. Maybe they're beyond entertaining them, but teaching. I guess I don't know.
Well, that could be it because there are something that's really cool about the studio that did Hellblade. They're actually doing a charity drive right now where if you buy Hellblade, all the proceeds from the game are going to a organization which helps with mental health research, and because that is a large portion of the game is dealing with mental health and seeing things that aren't there and hearing things that aren't being said and so on. So that's a really big part of the game is mental health safety, and so they're doing that charity drive to help with that. And yeah, so maybe that's what it is that the game is raising awareness as far as mental health issues. So maybe that's what that is. Now, the other games that were mentioned there, Zelda Breath of the Wild, that was actually a really big surprise to me that didn't win best game, because that game has been hugely popular. The minute it released, people are praising it left and right. Same goes with Super Mario Odyssey. I mean, Nintendo had 2 fucking home runs when it came to those games. Everybody has been praising those things. They've been winning, best game, top game, and stuff like that all around the fucking award circuits. Same goes very much so for Horizon Zero Dawn, the PlayStation exclusive. A lot of people really loved that game. They really loved the world that was built within that game. Hellblade, we've already talked about. And then the other one that kind of surprised me was nominated was Assassin's Creed Origins, which is a Ubisoft title. A Ubisoft title or a Ubisoft IP that's taken a lot of heat over the last year or two and is now being nominated at the BAFTAs for Best Game. Do you guys think that that's going to kind of send a signal to kind of the gaming world that Ubisoft is starting to turn their shit around?
no.
Just
I think
no.
that means that Ubisoft
Well-
is going to make 15 more fucking Assassin's Creed Origins. I think that's what that means.
Probably.
Now,
That
Far
is
Cry
true.
5, that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
That's a sign that Ubisoft's got their shit together. Or
Yeah.
getting their shit together.
So would you think it may be better when they release another Assassin's Creed? Since those are some good tensions there.
I think it would be better if they just left it alone for a while. They did take a break in between the last one and this new Assassin's Creed, but I don't think it was long enough. Like, I think they need to just let that thing sit for 5 years or so, and wait until you have a genuinely original idea to bring and a original story that's not just Ezio's story with different character skins and a new place. That series, I guess, I think just needs to die for a little bit. Just let it go. So next one I want to get into real quick. This one, again, very much so surprised me. Fortnite lost out Best Evolving Game to Overwatch. I personally do not play Overwatch. I've watched it being played a decent amount. And obviously everybody knows Fortnite. Everybody's seen a fuck ton of it. A lot of people don't, for some reason, don't remember where Fortnite started. I think a lot of that is because of just how popular it is now and how dead it was before. Everybody just kind of blocks out how Fortnite started. But anybody, that remembers the launch of Fortnite began as a base building zombie survival, like horde wave after wave type game where you built up your base and multiple waves of zombies were sent at you and you had to survive. And then thanks to the success of PUBG, Epic Games then started turning it over to a battle royale style game, and now it's blowing everybody out of the fucking water. So for Overwatch, which from an outside perspective really hasn't evolved at all, with the exception to adding some more characters, comparing that to Fortnite, which is a completely different game than where it started, I'm not really sure how Overwatch has evolved more than Fortnite. And again, I haven't really played Overwatch all that much, but it's just from my perspective, what I've seen of both games, and I've never played Fortnite either. From what I've seen of both games, Fortnite definitely looks like it has evolved much more than what Overwatch has. But yeah, Iber, you are very much correct. Anybody going up against Blizzard with pretty much anything is gonna fucking lose. But what do you guys think? Have any of you guys played either one, Fortnite or Overwatch?
I've never played Overwatch, but my friend keeps insisting to play Fortnite. But I completely agree on the point about Fortnite has evolved to doing Battle Royale as well, which basically brings in competition with PlayerUnknown Battleground. So that's, to me, that's more evolved, but that brought more of a player base and a new game mode for the players in Fortnite than Overwatch having the same game modes that it has currently. So now I agree on that point that that was the wrong decision to vote Overwatch on that. But that's just my point from there.
Yeah, I don't really understand it. Minnie, what about you? What do you think about that decision to go with Overwatch over Fortnite?
I also agree that I think that Fortnite maybe should have won in this case, but I can see maybe why they might have chosen Overwatch because I actually played both of the games, and Overwatch has recently released their new league, which is like their competitive pro team league, which I don't know what the prize pool was, but it was a pretty hefty prize pool at the beginning, I believe. So that might be kind of why what swayed their decision to put into Overwatch because of the competitive aspect. I know Fortnite is
I
really
don't know if
competitive.
I don't know if that would be considered an evolution though, considering
Yeah.
Overwatch was created to be an esports game. That's
No, yeah, for
that's
sure.
what it was made for.
And but yeah, I don't know about the decision to make Overwatch the best evolving game for 2017.
Now, my theory, and I could be completely fucking wrong, obviously, but my theory is that maybe they went with Overwatch simply because Fortnite is insanely popular right now, and they didn't want to look like they were just pandering to what's popular. And again, I could be completely fucking wrong, but it is kind of hard to look at the top game on the fucking planet right now and say, yeah, you guys don't deserve anything. They didn't get shit. Like, Fortnite didn't win a single award. So that's either those handling the awards have standards that Fortnite can't reach, or which is saying that the most popular game in the world is not very good, which I agree with, by the way. So, or that they just they don't want to look like they're selling out, if you will. But I personally think it's more so that it's really just not that great of a game. It's just incredibly popular because you have massive streamers that are playing it, and they may enjoy it. I'm not saying that it's a bad game, so you can't have fun in it. But it's popular because of Twitch and YouTube and so on. And there is no one that can deny that fact that game blew up because of the community playing it. And that's something we're actually going to talk about more here in a little bit. But to continue on with the BAFTA awards, Divinity Original Sin 2 won the best multiplayer. I fucking agree with that wholeheartedly. I love that game. Great game. And that's another category where people probably would have expected something like Overwatch or Fortnite or PUBG or so on. But I agree. Divinity Original Sin 2, fucking amazing multiplayer game. If you guys have not played it, highly recommend going and checking it out. Full drop in, drop out co-op. Have a great time with your friends. Really good story. Excellent turn-based gameplay. if you're into that kind of thing, if you're into turn-based RPGs. If you're not, don't go play it, because it's pretty hardcore turn-based RPG, but I had an absolute blast playing through it. Me, Drum, Hammer, and Hammond played through it together, and it was a fucking great time. Or no, sorry, Cherry. Me, Drum, Cherry, and Hammond played through it together. Have any of you guys played Divinity Original Sin 2?
Nope.
I have not
Unfortunately.
played that.
Well, go fucking play it if you're into turn-based RPGs. It's fucking awesome. I loved it. So moving on from there, we had Super Mario Odyssey win Best Family Game and Best Game Design. Absolutely agree. And then Zelda Breath of the Wild took the Best Game Innovation. Again, also agree. That game, just the style of it and the world is absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to play it, but it looks so amazing. And then Horizon Zero Dawn took the Best Original IP, which again, I haven't been able to play because it's a PlayStation exclusive, but I can definitely understand that decision given, what I've seen of it. It is definitely a very original game and something unlike pretty much anything else we've seen out there. There have been people that have kind of tried to liken it to Assassin's Creed and stuff like that, but I personally, from what I've seen played of it, it's nowhere near as watered down as what Assassin's Creed or, Ghost Recon Wildlands or any of those other open world Ubisoft games is not as watered down as those games are. So I can definitely understand that getting the best IP. What do you guys think on Horizon Zero Dawn taking the most original IP? Can you think of any other games that were released last year that you think were more original than Horizon Zero Dawn?
This is my opinion, but I would have thought about Ghost Recon would have been more of a better choice. Not more of a better choice, but at least a good running choice with that.
That's not an original IP. Ghost Recon's been around for a decade.
It has? Oh, dang. Never mind. Oh.
You never played Ghost Recon back in the day?
Nope, I've only played Ghost Recon Wildlands when it came out. And
fucking Christ, Ghost Recon's been around damn near as long as you've been alive.
Yeah, I never knew that.
Yeah, that's Ghost Recon's been around since fucking original PlayStation. What about you, Minnie? Can you think of any IPs that came out last year that you think would be more original than Horizon Zero Dawn?
I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but I can't really think of anything because I have read reviews for Horizon Zero Dawn. I've seen my friends play it, and it was actually really well done in my opinion.
Looks awesome. I would love to play it.
Definitely something. That's definitely a game I would pick up if I ever actually managed to get a PS4 or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. For sure, that would be... In fact, that would probably be the first game I pick up. I know a lot of people would go for Uncharted, but I think...
Yeah, I would have gone for Uncharted.
Yeah, I think I've already, kind of seen enough of that, and it's a discount Indiana Jones, as to where Horizon Zero Dawn is just something completely fucking different. So I would definitely, if I had a PlayStation, that would be the first thing I would go out and grab right now. All right, so I want to move on from BAFTA awards. Like I said, the full awards are out there, very easy to see, and those are just the ones that I wanted to talk about because they kind of caught my eye. But the next thing I want to go on to is a story from GamesBeat Summit, where we found out that EA is working on a new project. While speaking to Dean Takahashi at the Game Summit, Jade Raymond, the general manager of EA Motive, she made some pretty interesting statements regarding EA and what they've learned over the last year. So Raymond has worked on Assassin's Creed projects in the past with Ubisoft. EA Motive is thought to be taking over what is now the dead Visceral Games project, now that Visceral has been closed down by EA, which again is very upsetting. So Visceral Games got shut down. Basically, EA Motive came in and picked up where they left off. on this new open world action game that they're, supposed to be doing from EA. So Raymond said in the interview with Dean Takahashi that there were some obvious mistakes made in the past by EA, and they are learning from them, and they will not repeat those same mistakes. She wouldn't straight up come out and say that, yeah, we messed up with the microtransactions and the loot boxes. We're not going to do that again. And, we've made mistakes and we're not going to repeat those mistakes. Like that, just that statement alone pissed me off to no end. It's like, when are you going to find the fucking balls to just openly admit that you guys fucked up? Like, you tried to take advantage of your fans and they told you to go fuck yourselves. Like, grow some balls and just come out and say it. I mean, Michael Kaczynski, the head or one of the heads of CD Projekt Red, who I know I'm on their dick all the time, but he said almost exactly that in an interview a few weeks or maybe 2 months ago or so, that microtransactions and loot boxes and stuff are exactly that. They're taking advantage of the player base, and that their company will not do that. The only time they will charge for content is if they deem that you get enough gameplay out of it. And people loved him for it. I mean, he was getting praise all over the fucking gaming community because of those statements. And it's like, how can Jade Raymond, this, head of an EA studio, not see that and say, okay, yeah, the fans are reacting to someone telling the fucking truth and saying it like it is. Maybe we should try that for once. So it kind of pissed me off that, yeah, she admitted that they fucked up, but it was, in my opinion, a half-ass apology. Like, yeah, we made mistakes, we won't do it again. Sorry. It kind of pissed me off. So she then went on to say that the expectations of AAA games are changing due to the success of PUBG and Fortnite, and that they have Fortnite and PUBG have very limited features compared to most AAA games, and EA are seeing the influence of that in their design of AAA games. It worries me that we have an executive at a game studio who's now working on what was a Visceral Games project say that they're looking at the success of Fortnite and PUBG and saying, hey, these games don't have a lot of features and they're insanely popular. We need to try and work that into our game design. And so now we're looking at, yet another potential battle royale or just very featureless game from a large publisher. And this is concerning to no fucking end. AAA games are just following the fucking wave, which that's not how it used to be. It used to be the big developers, the AAA studios, were the ones that always pushed the envelope. They were the ones that were introducing the new ideas, the new mechanics. The indie studios were the ones ripping off the AAA devs, saying, hey, let's cash in on this new thing that they introduced. Let's get in on it while we can. And the big studios were always, again, pushing that envelope. And it's concerning that in an already saturated market, that we're potentially looking at even more entries into this genre in 2019, just because that's what's popular right now. So Raymond then went on to speak about the development philosophy of games going forward, stating that they now have to look at the gaming community as an ecosystem, and it's no longer the game developer and the player at home. Games journalists now have a much larger reach, thanks to the success of Twitch and YouTube. Those players at home can now reach everyone's home. Because of this, word of mouth now has a much further reach, and the popularity of a game can change overnight based on a handful of Twitch personalities. So, yet again, they're looking at the market trend and saying, we need something that's going to be popular on Twitch. It's no longer, this game is fun, it's, can we make this game work on Twitch? Because they know if they can make someone like Ninja, who's going to have 110,000 people watching him every single time he streams, if they can get their game in his hand and he says, yeah, this is fun, they just sold 30,000 copies because one person said, yeah, this is fun. And that's the kind of thing that they're looking at when creating games now. Is this going to be fun for the player? And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that, they're a business, they should stop trying to make money. That absolutely not. But what happened to the days of creating something new? What happened to taking a risk and pushing the envelope forward and showing us new mechanics and new, interaction with games? That's gone. It's just, hey, let's fucking do the same thing that these guys are doing 15,000 fucking times so that we can make all the fucking monies. And that it's really, really concerning when a AAA developer, and I don't even give a fuck that she's from EA. I wouldn't care what development studio she's from. The fact that she is a developer for one of the largest games companies in the world, and she's openly saying this during a GameSpeak conference, straight up telling everyone there, yeah, we're essentially boil it down, and she's saying we're looking at the market trend, and that's going to base what our next game is going to be. That it used to be at games conferences, every single developer would come out and say, this is what the market's doing, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do something different, this is how we're going to change the entire gaming marketplace, because we're going to introduce this and blow all of your fucking minds. Now, this same situation, she has a chance to do that and says, we're looking at the success of other games and we're going to copy them. What in the fuck is going on with large development studios? I mean, what do you guys think about this, about the statements that she's made?
I think first, you always say that. Always think about what you're saying first before you even react to anything, and that's definitely what she did. She didn't think about what she was saying. Wait. I think I'm going off topic. Am I answering your question or no?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, she's not. Whenever you're making a public statement, especially when you're a big company, number one, and then number two, you got to take in mind that what you may say can impact the revenue of your company, number one. So with her making that big assumption, now everyone else will assume that, okay, this is the game they're going to release. I probably don't want to play this game, whatever. This can assist other companies in being able to produce games that will attract more viewers and taking away business from them. But I'm looking more of a business side. I'm not looking more of a gamer side. My bad. But that's just my response to that point.
Yeah, and I understand that. And like Zynet says in chat there, that game studios have been copying each other for years. Absolutely. That's always been the trend. There's one game that comes out that's successful, then you have 5 or 6 others. But in the past, it was a game comes out and then another company does basically the same game, but they improve it. And then the next company does it and they improve it. They add more features. They, make it run better, so on. Now we're seeing the exact fucking opposite, where a game comes out and, take the Battle Royale stuff, for instance. Okay, PUBG comes out and then Fortnite comes out and improves it. They do improve it. They add the construction system to it, right? And then you turn around and have Minnie, what the hell was the game that you were playing?
Radical
Heights, that's it. Then Radical Heights comes out and devolves what Fortnite has improved into less. Yes, it's early access, but fuck off. You're making money off of people. They're buying the shit from you that has even less than what is in this other game. So it's no longer, yeah, we're going to do this because it's popular and we think we can do it better. It's, hey, we need to cash in on this shit while we can. You know, before, when it was, we can improve this game, now it's, I don't care if we improve it, we just need to get money off of it, which is fucking ridiculous. Yeah, I can't fucking stand that this is where the AAA market is going, is to follow the trend of a couple of small developers because they became popular, and now everybody wants to cash in on this. Like I said, I miss the days of, you know, the early and mid 90s when big developers would come out and say, yeah, this is what everybody else is doing. This is what we're going to introduce that's new. And, you know, Jade Raymond had a huge opportunity to do that at GamesBeat. She could have come out and said, you know, we see the success of, you know, of these games and they're great, but we're going to do this to change it. You know, I wouldn't even care if she said, yeah, we're going to do a battle royale game, but there needs to be reasoning behind it, besides just we want to make money. You know, if they were to say, we're going to do a battle royale game, but we're going to do a battle royale game unlike anything you have ever seen before. We are going to completely change the market with our styling, our gameplay, and so on. Then I could get a little bit more behind it, because they're not just, you know, trying to cash in, they're trying to actually improve the genre, which is way fucking better. I don't know. I'm really leery about the growing trend of this, and the fact that they're more so looking at what can we make popular rather than what can we make fun, and that's a problem. But to kind of continue almost on the same subject, I believe it was last week, Patrick Sutherland has taken the role of Chief Design Officer at EA, placing him in charge of all EA studios after a large management changeup following the backlash that EA has recently faced. And while speaking to The Verge, Sutherland admits that the controversy surrounding Star Wars Battlefront 2 has had a serious impact on the company's image, and that the best thing to do now was to own the mistakes that they made. Now, this interview was done about a week after Jade Raymond's interview. So this is Jade Raymond's boss, basically, the top fucking dog. This is him speaking to The Verge about a week after Jade Raymond. So Soderlund went on to say, I'd be lying to you if I said that what's happened with Battlefront and what's happened with everything surrounding loot boxes and these things haven't had an effect on EA as a company, and an effect on us as management. We have taken significant steps as a company to review and understand the mechanics around monetization, loot boxes, and other things in our games before they go to market. For games that come next, for Battlefield or for Anthem, players have made it very clear that we can't afford to make another similar mistake, and we won't. So this, again, is the woman we just talked about speaking at GamesBeat. This is her boss about a week after her statements at GamesBeat. This is him coming out and saying exactly what I wanted her to say, you know, bringing up specifically loot boxes and monetization. He's got the balls to actually come out and say it. The first person I've seen from EA that actually had the balls to come out and say our monetization and our loot boxes were a mistake. Going forward, we will be basically curbing that shit before it goes to market. Okay, so that's a big thing, before it goes to market. So that shit is going to be reviewed from top to fucking bottom before they release the game to the public, which is a good thing. Soderlund then went on to say that it's clear to us that players see the company differently than we do, And in that situation, as a member of the executive team, as the guy who runs all of the studios, I have to take that seriously. Now, loot boxes have been implemented back into Battlefront. However, they're cosmetic only, so they're more along the lines of Overwatch. So, my question for you guys in here with me is, after hearing Jade Raymond's statements a week before Patrick Soderlund's, and then he comes out and says basically not necessarily the exact opposite of what she says, but he comes out and puts it on Front Street and says, look, we know we fucked up. We're not going to do it again. As to where, she's saying, we're just going to follow the market trend. Anyway, when it comes to Soderlund's statements about not making those same mistakes again, do you think that this is just kind of damage control, PR 101, or do you think he's honestly being genuine in his statements that we fucked up, we are not going to do that same thing again, we're gonna do better before this stuff ever gets to you guys, we are going to take care of it and make sure that this doesn't happen again? Do you guys think that he's being genuine in that, or is this just kind of someone stuffing a paper in front of his face saying, here, say this?
Now I have two sides in here. Genuine in both damage control. Reason I believe is genuine because it's his, probably that's maybe the reason why he got selected for that position and chosen by the board for him to become the chief design officer. That's probably one of the reasons. So they knew, so he probably had a plan on how to make the company better. So probably he was genuine in saying that these are his plans to make the company go on better with the upcoming games that will be released. Number two, damage control, most likely because of what happened, and he probably wanted to make sure to do that, like I said one more time, to continue the revenue and to make sure that they keep their usual customers to buy the games that they're going to release. So there's two stance to that, and I feel like it's probably both genuine and same time low key doing damage control.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree with what Smith said there. But the thing that I think about it is that it is the damage control thing, but it's also there to kind of show what's been happening, because at the end of the day, EA is a public company and it is publicly traded, right? So there's like a board of like that's way above all of these
Yep.
like chief
Which is
design
why
officers,
there was a
which
large
is
management change.
yeah, which is why I believe that to kind of go back to what you were talking about before, why a lot of companies are starting to make games and copying each other, is because at the end of the day, the people at the top, all they see is just the numbers, and
Yeah.
whatever makes profit is what they want to do. So if they see Fortnite and PUBG and all that making money, they obviously want to jump on the hype train before it leaves. Similar to that is kind of with the headphone jack on Apple's, how they removed it, and some people were actually copying them. And now, if you saw the iPhone X with their little notch on the top there, I believe Samsung's recently submitted their design proposal for their new phone, and it actually copied the notch that Apple has up there. So it kind of shows that like companies are just kind of trying to make money, obviously at the end of the day, and they're just caring about the profit margin. And I think they're starting to realize now, gaming companies are starting to realize that maybe taking into account the PR factor that they have and their relationship with the customer is actually what in the long run is going to end up making them the most money. So I think that's what with the management change that they have now, that they're trying to fix all the damage that they've actually caused. And I think this is a good move that they're doing now. And when he said that they have taken significant steps as a company to review and understand the mechanics, I feel like it was them kind of giving a presentation to the board of directors, as you will, kind of explaining to them why it wasn't working. And I feel like they actually kind of understand what the reason why things aren't going as they planned before. So then that might be the reason why the change is actually happening now.
Yeah, I can see that. Loster, what do you think? You got any opinion on this?
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it is that like I think money talks both ways. I think it goes. What I mean by that is that yeah, I'm with Mina that like I think there's a bunch of obviously go into any like look at any industry, look at any industry like in the world that is large, and generally you'll get the consensus that the bosses know the least amount about that industry.
Right.
Like, the people at the top don't know shit about it. They're MBAs, they're business executives, they're CEOs, they're all that other shit. To them, it's all about what can generate the highest profits. Blah blah blah. Well, there have been times where the community has used that against these companies, like with Battlefront 2, with all that shit that they did. Now, I don't think Battlefront 2 is necessarily a bad game. It's not my cup of tea.
No,
But-
I don't think, I agree. I don't think it's a bad game per se. I just think their practices when it came to monetization is what was fucked.
Yes, and people lost their minds. The people sometimes, and I don't know why they wait till it's this bad to do it. People will vote with their wallets, or they'll vote where it hurts the company. Well,
Right.
fuck you. We're not buying your game then, or I'm going to refund it. I don't.
Mhm.
This isn't. I don't want this. Then
That's what gets
Luck-
the CEOs and stockholders, that's what gets their attention.
right, and I think that's what it takes really to really kick for someone to get a boot in the ass and say, "Hey, man, this shit is wrong." Because people can complain all they want. It's not like CEOs are. It's not like the CEO of EA or like the CEO of Ubisoft just sitting there like.
Yeah, they're not on
Reading-
forums reading
Right.
posts
They're
and
not
shit.
on. They're not on NeoGAF. They're not on Twitter. They're not looking at these. They're not looking at support tickets. They don't give a shit. Right. It doesn't matter. However,
Right.
when you have something like Battlefront 2, have something like Arkham Knight, have something like what 2K did with
Mhm.
GTA 5.
When it becomes global news, then they can't ignore it.
Yeah, when 2K tries to tries to cease and desist and sue the modding community, whoever, I don't know exactly who they were suing or who they were
5M.
cease and desisting. 5M, okay. And all of a sudden, GTA 5 plummets from an overwhelmingly positive, like high 90th score to like fucking 50% score.
Yeah,
Like,
in a
that's
matter
what
of
it
like
takes.
24 hours.
Yeah. I don't think they've even fully recovered from that
No.
either. I think they're hovering like in the 70s now, but like that is permanent damage, because a lot of people that aren't hardcore gamers, that are just casual gamers that may not know anything, despite how big GTA 5 is, despite how big Overwatch is, there's plenty of people that don't know shit about these
Right.
games. And when they go to buy them, they don't think about those things. They just look at the reviews.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Sorry.
my thought on it is this, as far as Soderlund's statements. I have a belief that he was probably a naysayer to the monetization and the loot boxes that they were doing with Battlefront. I would hazard a guess that he was holding up the torch saying, we should not be doing this. I do not like this. And people above him overruled him. And now that all this shit went down, the people above him said, you guys fucked up. He tried to tell us the right thing to do. You guys are gone. He's now in that position. And obviously his statement, somewhat obviously, his statement is a lot of damage control. It's him saying, hey, we fucked up. We're not going to do it again. But the reason I believe it is genuine, at least from him, granted, he's not all powerful. He's still got people over top of his head. But the reason I believe it's genuine from him, he is the first EA executive I have seen straight come out and say that our monetization and our loot boxes were wrong, and we will not do that again. He's the first person I've ever seen say that. So the fact that he even came out and said that, and somebody, I'm sure, had to approve whatever the fuck he was saying, the fact that, he's willing to step up and admit those mistakes specifically and say, we're not going to make those mistakes again, and steps have been made so that this stuff is understood and reviewed before it comes out to you, is telling me now, he was not in a position before to, kind of shield this shit, as to where now he's in a position where they want more money and they want to implement it this way because the CEO or the board or whoever heard that this is a good way to do it. He can now go to them and say, no, this will cause backlash. This will cause us to lose money. We cannot do this. And hopefully they will listen. So I do believe it is, again, damage control, but deep down, I'm genuinely hoping that, his statements are, genuine from him, and it's something that we're not going to see repeated. Is there a possibility it's going to be repeated? Absolutely.
Sure.
But hopefully not.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, maybe not even from EA, but somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't begin to comprehend the mindset of the people that make these decisions that would possibly think that how it would make a company look bad for admitting that they made a mistake. Like,
Right, yeah.
I would give the highest fucking
Exactly.
I would be more inclined to sway back to a company if they just came out and said, yeah, you know what, we fucked up.
Well,
And
the best example that comes to mind for that, honestly, is actually Ubisoft with Rainbow Six. I personally don't play Rainbow Six, but they came out and said, hey, it was bad. It was not a good game at launch. We're going to stick with it. We're going to improve it for you guys. We're going to make this a better game for you. We're not just going to let it die. And the same thing with, what's it called? The medieval one.
For Honor?
Yeah, For Honor. They're doing the same thing with that. So, and people are fucking genuinely praising them for it. Like, they're on Ubisoft's dick when it comes to those games, because it's like, you guys admitted that you fucked up on launch and that these games were bad, but you didn't just throw them away and let them die. You guys are sticking with it and improving the game for us, and people are giving them praise for it.
Yeah, I'm noticing a shift on YouTube as well. Maybe it's just my viewing habits, but I'm noticing a shift more on a lot of people like breaking down and analyzing a lot of these AAA titles, dissect what makes them successful, what about them. Gamers is one, but they're more of like a retrospective channel.
Mm-hmm.
Like, here's the history of this franchise.
Yeah.
But some of the other channels that I watch are quote unquote like journalists or like analyzers or whatever, that they go into depth. Like, okay, here's why Far Cry 1 was good. Here's why Far Cry 2 was better. Here's why Far Cry 3 was fantastic. And here's why Far Cry 4 kind of fucking sucked. And it's all in relation to all their other games.
Mm-hmm.
And so they made Far Cry 5. I feel like they took that input. Just going to make another Far Cry game. We're going to make another Far Cry game, but it's not going to be just another rinse and repeat. The game even had the balls to make fun of itself.
Yeah, exactly. That
don't worry, you're not going to be climbing towers.
Yeah, exactly. That to me shows you, without shadow of a doubt, they are listening to the community. They do listen to the problems that people have with the game, and they are trying to combat those. Yeah, it's one of those, and like you were saying with the game reviewers and games journalists and stuff like that, like I was saying earlier, they have a lot more reach than what they ever did before. I remember reading fucking Game Informer magazine back in the fucking late 90s and early 2000s, and it was like, that was a niche thing to be subscribed to Game Informer and get the magazine once a month, and nobody really knew what that magazine was unless you were a gamer, obviously. But nowadays, there's fucking, when something like the Battlefront stuff goes down, I mean, it's worldwide fucking news. There's YouTube videos of game reviewers being played on ABC 12 News Tonight and shit. It's crazy.
Conan plays games now.
Yeah, exactly. Conan plays fucking video games, the Clueless Gamer shit. So it has much more of a reach and much more of an impact on a game nowadays. And they have to be cognizant of that. And in my opinion, Ubisoft is showing that they are cognizant of that. And they are, listening and trying to improve. And I'm hoping that, after reading these statements from Patrick Soderlund, that EA will hopefully start doing the same. And maybe he's the right guy to be at the helm of this thing, saying, hey, this is what the fans are saying. This is what the people want. We're not doing this. this is going to make us lose people.
Yeah, I wish it hadn't come to this though. I wish it. You know what? You know where it started. It started way back in like Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4 days. I think that was like the infancy of it. That's where like I think kind of like the internet kind of exploded over it. Like where you have interviews, you have statements from DICE employees that says, yes, we designed all these maps, and then EA said, well, we're not going to give all of them to you.
Yeah.
Like right away. You can design 20 maps. We'll give you 6. And then we'll give out 2 at a time at $25 a pop.
Right.
And it's like, people were furious, but it's like, all right, we'll let that go. It's not as bad as it's, it could be worse. And then like, fucking the next thing happened. Oh, it could be worse. And then the loot boxes happened. And again, we've said this. I think you and I have said this multiple times. Loot boxes, microtransactions, like the stigma that goes with those, I don't think that those business practices are inherently bad. It's when you leverage these loot boxes, it's when you leverage these microtransactions against a player's ability to play the game.
Yeah.
That where it becomes this borderline like unethical territory.
Yeah, when it's used to alter gameplay, that's when it really becomes a problem. And I am positive that going forward, any game studio that wants to add any type of microtransaction, in-game transaction, so on, is now going to take a second look and say, is this something that is going to get us in trouble? Are we going to be looking at fucking potential lawsuits and shit in the future because of this stuff? We cannot repeat the mistakes of Battlefront. And I genuinely think that this is something that years and years and years down the road, people are still going to be talking about and saying, hey, yeah, you remember back in 2017 when fucking Battlefront made, worldwide news and we're under investigation and shit by multiple countries? Yeah, we can't do that. But I want to continue on here with another interview that I picked up on. Again from GamesBeat. So this was at the same summit that Jade Raymond spoke at. And this was the, I guess, main star of Battlefront 2, actress Janina Gavankar. Yeah, I know I'm horribly mispronouncing her name. But she spoke at the GamesBeat summit about the rise of indie studios created by AAA veterans and how she hopes that these studios are going to be the ones to shape the future of the industry. Now, this is someone who is involved in the games industry. She's been an actress or voice talent in multiple games. She's also, a real-world actress. She's been in movies and TV series and stuff like that, but she is involved in the games industry. And she's saying that these indie studios that are popping up from developers that are leaving AAA studios to create their own, she hopes that these studios will continue pushing the market. And she believes that these studios are going to be bringing new experiences to the player who may have had enough of the generic AAA experience. She said, if you don't have something that hits gamers' hearts, you're not going to reach them. I have AAA fatigue, and I have felt like this for a while. Why am I playing a game that I could have played in 2007 except with better graphics? Now, this is an actress basically saying this. And she's a fucking gamer when she's like, why am I playing a game I could have played in 2007, but it looks prettier? Like, that tells you pretty well that she's a fucking gamer, because she can see that this is the exact same Call of Duty that came out 10 fucking years ago. It just looks prettier. And I love that statement that I have AAA fatigue.
Yeah.
That to me like stood out. The minute I read that line, I was like, oh yeah.
That might be
AAA
that might
fatigue,
have been the reason.
Yeah.
That might have been how I felt. That might actually been what I was experiencing when we talked about Far Cry 5 when it was upcoming. You're like, hey, are you excited? I'm like, I'm not really excited for this. I'm EA, Ubisoft, fucking Activision. I just don't. Just give me a prison architect. Just give me one of those.
Right.
I'm fine.
The one
know?
thing that makes that different than movies, because movies is something that you can't, well, you can watch it over again, but like so many suspenses that has left you to wanting to watch the next movie or next TV show, like Game of Thrones. Like I'm still waiting for the next season to come out.
Well, yeah, but that's a
And then
continuation of a
that's
story
what I'm
that you
saying, yeah.
love.
So games are completely different. It's like as soon as you got 5 things, it's like you can't expand on the storyline that you started in the first game. It just starts getting boring with the whole storyline of the game. So that's why people aren't that much happy or excited for the next release of that game than it would be
Right.
with the
Well,
TV show.
it's like Halo 5. It's like five Halos, really. I don't.
Well,
Yeah, I agree on
it's
that.
but again, it's the fact that it's a story you're excited for. We have how many fucking Marvel movies at this point? But they're all hugely successful because the stories are good and because people want to see a continuation of those stories. As to where, something like Halo, the story of Halo died fucking 10 years ago. People don't want a continuation of that story because you fucking killed it. It's done. Just let it lie. So she went on to say that publishers should stop chasing trends to focus on experimenting with new things. You can't just follow the data forever. Somebody had to find Spielberg and say, okay, kid, go ahead. And it wasn't based on data, it was because he was a genius.
Yeah.
And she's absolutely right. And that's, what I was talking about earlier, what happened to pushing the envelope and trying new things and introducing new things. AAA
Wow, that's
developers
great.
no longer do that.
It's a very blunt and like bold statement. That's really good.
Right.
I didn't actually read this part of the article, so this is,
I
wow.
love this article, and like I said, this is somebody that's in the industry. I mean, she's a voice talent, an actress, and so on. And this is somebody in the industry who is basically mirroring everything that I've been saying. She then went on to talk about a secret transmedia project that she's currently working on, and explain that their focus on an interactive experience and how this kind of focus could be the future of the games industry. She said, in our time developing the world, we're thinking about how we can make a VR experience, an alternate reality experience, an interactive experience in any way, working in branching dialogue. These are really important if you want to keep creating and keep bridging the gaps between these mediums. So she's talking about this new game project that she's working on with Transmedia Studios, saying that we're working on how to implement everything in the gaming world into this. Virtual reality, alternate reality, branching storylines, interaction. We're trying to bring it all together in one game and really, push the envelope as to what is it to be a video game and what is it to be an actual physical experience. And I love this girl. Like, I don't know if it's legal for me to have a second wife, but I want one. It's just, as I have noted here, it's so refreshing to hear someone involved in the industry sharing my concerns and my hopes for the future of gaming. So, for her to say that, this studio that I'm working with, we're trying to push the envelope as much as we can in terms of, these other interactive experiences and make this a whole experience and not just sitting down to play a video game. And it's an indie studio. And like she said at the very start of the interview, she believes that the indie studios are now the ones to push the envelope and, really advance gaming, as to where, the AAA studios are just following the market trend now. And again, this is exactly what we were just talking about 20 minutes ago. But this is somebody that's in the industry saying it. So, I mean, what do you guys think about that? Do you think that, she's kind of on point on this, being in the industry and, sharing the same thoughts and feelings that a lot of us have? Or, you think this is just her trying to kind of advertise and, get some hype around the stuff that she has going on?
I think she's on point. specifically with the whole fatigue thing. I mean, if you remember, there was a time where, like, what we want to say, like, what, 05, 06, 07 ish. You were getting this was like right around the time like Assassin's Creed was taking off. Call of Duty was getting really big. We're getting a Call of Duty game every year. We're getting a Assassin's Creed game every year at that point. And it's like I'm not excited for these. I'm not excited for these games anymore. And then they'll try to change it up a little bit. Hey, this one's in Vietnam, but like, all right, but it's still
actually,
still just another Call of Duty game.
The one that got me actually was Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag. Have any of you guys played that one?
Yeah, that was a curveball.
Right? That was a refreshing Assassin's Creed.
Not,
there was a lot of the same shit.
You're not even an assassin.
Right, you're a fucking pirate.
You're just a pirate.
But it was refreshing. There was a lot of the same elements. You're still climbing towers and, stealth gameplay and stuff like that. But just the addition of being out in the ocean on your ship, doing ship-to-ship combat, something completely different, never been done before. Now, we've got Black Wake and Sea of Thieves and all that stuff. But Assassin's Creed did it first, and it was fucking awesome. A lot of people praised that game, and a lot of people were like, holy shit, Ubisoft's turning it around. This isn't just another copy-paste Assassin's Creed. They added something new. Like we were saying earlier, if you're going to basically copy and paste a game, great, but add something to it. Change the dynamic of it somehow. And they did that with Black Flag, and then they turned around and did Syndicate, and it was the same fucking game all over again. Just, you play as two people instead of one. Well, you still only get to play as one person at a time, so what's the difference other than one's got tits and one doesn't?
I think Black Flag probably shouldn't have been an Assassin's Creed game. Like, they should have just let it be its own thing, and like just the reliance on that brand. Like, it's like they have no faith in their product. If they don't slap this thing on it, it's not going to sell any copies. And I just don't believe that. I don't think that's true. There's plenty of games that come out of like pure obscurity. Like, you can't tell me like Undertale had this big hype train behind it, and it turned out to be one of the most like sensational,
most endearing, one of the most endearing games ever.
Yeah. And one dude made that game and just put it up on Steam. Five Nights at Freddy's is another one. Scott Cawthorn just say here.
Stardew Valley is also another one.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the Starbound guys, right?
And another one that
Terraria.
Another one that a lot of people wouldn't necessarily consider indie. Again, fucking CD Projekt Red. I know I'm always fucking blowing those guys, but a lot of people wouldn't consider them indie. But they do have a lot of indie views and ideals that would align themselves to an indie studio, despite them being big name now, and really being considered a AAA studio at this point, despite not being the same size as something like EA or something like that. But the reason I bring them up is fucking CD Projekt Red got funding from the state, from Poland, to create their new game. Like, they were so good in their presentation that they got funding from the state to create a video game. So the worry now for other indie developers of, well, we don't have the money to be able to do what we want to do. I'm not saying that worry's now gone, but it is truncated a little bit because of what CD Projekt Red has done. And they now have that as a basis to say, hey, these guys got funding from here because of what they've done. And when that is finally out, when the new game finally hits, and if it's a massive success, these other indie studios can then go to other revenue sources and say, hey, this, they were able to do this because of non-traditional funding. You guys could back us and potentially do the same. So that's really exciting. That indie developers are potentially going to have more avenues for capital than what they currently do. And very, very quickly, Taco, thank you very much, brother, for that 10 spot, paying your dues. It's like he goes to the movies. So, instead of going to the movies, he just comes here.
He does that for me sometimes if we're doing a multi-Twitch. he'll like say I like you more and drop me a 10, and I'm like, oh, I feel special. Then I look over at yours, and he did said the same thing to you and dropped you a 10. So I'm like, oh, okay, he's a fucking whore, basically. He's
Yeah,
an
but
attention whore.
pretty much, yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much. So, anyways, to kind of move on from the new love of my life, speaking at GamesBeat, there was another story that dropped about the FTC, the U.S. Federal Trade Commission. They have sent out warning letters to 6 major companies that sell cars, mobile devices, gaming systems, so on in the U.S. For violating a warranty law from 1975. They didn't particularly name names, but due to some research and so on, it was pretty easily found out that 2 of those companies were Sony and Nintendo. The warranties, basically, that they're getting are the letters that they're getting hit with are due to their warranties that, while they are different, they essentially boil down to if this sticker is defaced or removed or broken, or this seal is broken, or this product is opened, or anything in any way, the warranty does not apply. The FTC has ruled that that wording and that practice is illegal due to that 1975 law. And they have given all companies 30 days to change their warranty agreements and their practices and to cease refusing warranty claims because of these practices. And if they fail to do so within the time allotted, the FTC will step in and force them to do so at their own cost. So my thing is, companies have been practicing this void warranty thing for decades. If you, pretty much everybody knows when it comes to like consoles and even cell phones, if you open that motherfucker up, the warranty's null and void. I mean, that's just common knowledge now. You can't just open up a PlayStation and try and fix it. If you do, your warranty's gone. You have to send it to a repair tech or whoever that's licensed to work on that stuff. Now, the FTC is stepping in and saying, no. This is illegal. You guys cannot deny a warranty on a product that you sold because someone broke a seal. Doesn't work like that. My question is, why in the fuck is the FTC just now stepping in? If this law has been on federal books since 1975, and we know damn well that this has been a practice of game companies and manufacturers of, all these different products for decades, why are they just now stepping in? What do you guys think? I mean, are you happy that the FTC is finally stepping in and doing something? Why do you think it took them so long?
That is true. While 1975, and many times, like any product you'll see a seal piece on there, and that's been since I was a little kid. That it's been saying, if you, especially with my PlayStation 2 way back then, we looked at the handbook. My mom said, no, don't open that. Right here, it says right here, do not. If you open the compartment inside a PlayStation, that your warranty will be violated. But it's a good thing that they are stepping in, number one. But that is true that it's taken them a long time to step in, though. But I believe, though, it does give people more of an opportunity to be able to return their stuff and actually fix stuff themselves and see if they can fix it without having to send their product back and not be able to use it for like a month or so. Because I had to send my mic in because something happened to it. And the Razer's like, yeah, go ahead and send it to us, and we'll send you reimbursement to buy yourself a new one. And I was excited about that, but one downfall about it is I got to pay for the taxes, and I don't have any money to pay for taxes, so I can't use the reimbursement. But it's a good thing that they're stepping in now and do that. And I don't know if Razer has been practicing on there or not, but that is a good thing that people do have the opportunity and the chance to actually be able to turn stuff in if they couldn't fix it themselves.
Right. No, in terms of Razer, I mean, a lot of people hate on them because they say their stuff is overpriced and this and that. I used Razer products for a long time. Personally, I love those guys. Not so much because of their product quality or anything like that. They just have an amazing relationship with their community. Those guys, pretty much no matter what the issue is, you return it, they're gonna fucking get you a new version of it, whatever has to be done. Myung Tang, or I can't remember the CEO's name. I feel like an asshole, but he's an awesome fucking dude. I mean, just a genuinely cool human being. I remember when the Razer store opened in, I think it was Taiwan. There were thousands and thousands of people waiting in line to go check out this new Razer store. This motherfucker showed up and bought pizza for every single person in line. He dropped like $10,000 on pizza for all the people that were hanging out in line. Like, that's genuinely cool as fuck. I seen another news story about this kid in Australia. Their house had got broken into, and his gifts had got stolen, and one of the gifts was a Razer keyboard. So this motherfucker calls up the Razer store in Australia and says, hey, I want one of everything at this kid's doorstep tomorrow morning. And it was there. Like, that's pretty fucking cool for a CEO to do something like that.
That's good customer relationship right there. You definitely right there.
Yeah.
That's like above and beyond. I mean,
Yeah.
Definitely.
Like most companies will send you a coupon.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll give you an @ mention on Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the
exactly.
thing is about it too as well, like they won't even check to see if you broke it or not.
No, they don't give a shit.
Like,
Well-
when I sent my mic in, they said after 3 days, their warehouse says that they received the package. I got a reimbursement, and the same day when they received it was the same day I got my reimbursement. So I know definitely they didn't even check to see if I broke it or whatever. They just give you the money no matter what.
Sorry, go ahead, Lost.
Here's the thing: is I kind of feel like maybe I'm playing devil's advocate here, but I think hopefully if this gets rewarded or something, there should be some kind of protection put in for the company's sake. You can't just pry open a fucking PS4 and jam a screwdriver in there and then say I want my money back because it's broken. Like,
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I personally wouldn't be surprised at all if, the wording on things were changed to where, there is a little bit of protection for the company, because you're right. At this point, somebody could just be like, I want a new PlayStation 4. So, they
I'm gonna
just
make a
break it on
Smash
purpose.
video.
Right.
I'm gonna make a breaking video on YouTube, and now, oh look, well, it's done.
Yeah, it's broken.
Get my money back.
But it is still, there has to be a happy medium, because, like Drum said earlier, like, you can't even open a system up to clean the fucking thing, which is needed, but you can't because it voids the warranty. So there is definitely a happy medium there that needs to be found, where, both the user and the producer are protected. And I think, we're going to be seeing some definite legal actions, and, probably hours upon hours of writing of new legal documentation and meetings and so on that take place. But it's at least good that this is finally coming to light, and the FTC is stepping in and saying, hey, no, this isn't right, and it's at least getting the ball rolling,
Yeah, well, and there are ways to tell. I mean, when I worked at Geek Squad, there are ways to, you can run diagnostics on things and determine whether or not it's a hardware failure or what's going on. It's not that complicated to determine. Like, simply, like, I agree with what the Drum said. Like, simply opening the shell to clean it shouldn't void your warranty. If you're not touching any of the components, you're not touching the hardware. You're just like cleaning the dust out of it. And you can do diagnostics to determine if your hard drive failed, if your CPU failed, blah blah blah, whatever.
Right.
The list goes on. And from that, you can then determine whether or not this was user error, like fault of the user, or the machinery took a shit.
Right. All right. So I want to move on to the next one here. Seen a quick story. The reason this caught my eye was because of the time frame. The Fallout New California mod, a mod for Fallout New Vegas, has finally gone into beta. It's not a public beta. It's very much so closed beta. But this mod has been in development for 9 years, which New Vegas has been out for 8 years. This mod was originally developed for Fallout 3, and then changed to a mod for New Vegas. But it has finally entered beta. there's not a whole lot of information on it. You know, they gave us the bylines of, 14,000 lines of dialogue by 42 actors, has 60 new characters and up to 12 different endings from branching storylines, and so on. So they haven't given us a ton of information about it, but it is progressing. It has gone into beta. They say you can finally play through the entirety of the mod from start to finish without any hiccups or any problems. So hopefully we'll see that go into open beta soon, and any Fallout fans out there will be able to check that out. Another one that I seen that I actually didn't write down here because I didn't have the time to was a mod for oh shit, what was it? Can't remember the name of the actual company now that did the or the name of the actual game that the mod was for. It was for an old ass game, like a 2001 game. This mod has been in development for 16 years, and it is touted as being the most realistic shooter ever made.
Oh, what's his name? Posted it in your chat, I think. Zinti, whatever the hell his name is. Hold on, he was talking about it.
Oh, Zyna, you have the thing for it? Okay.
Ghost Recon.
Okay, so this guy has been working on this mod for 16 years. How, I don't know.
Zynite, sorry.
But it's for a game that was made in 2001. And my question is, like, why? What the fuck is the point? Like, wouldn't you have been better served in your 16 years of time just heavily modifying ArmA that's already much further along than what was there before? Yeah, Zynite, absolutely, please do. But yeah, this dude, from everything I've seen, as far as his statements, videos, and stuff like that, he is really fucking full of himself when it comes to what he has created. And then you look at it and it's like, dude, ArmA 2 makes this look like dog shit. So I'm sorry, but you just wasted 16 years of your life. Apparently there is, a huge cult following of it, but it's one of those like, homie, I thought these motherfuckers took it a little too far working for 9 years on a mod that maybe a couple 100,000 people might play. This dude spent 16 years working on a mod that like 6 people are gonna play. I just, I don't know. If I was that dude, like when I seen ArmA come out, I'd have been like, well, okay, that project's done. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. And yeah, extreme realism almost always does mean not fun. Exactly. So yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting that dude basically wasted 16 years of his life. So
I just watched the trailer for it.
It's just pictures.
It's like hardcore tactical realism is back. No, it's not. Number 3.
Yeah, it didn't fucking leave, homie.
What?
But, this kind of reminds me of. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I heard a game of Beyond Good and Evil that just got released, I think maybe last year or so.
Yeah, but that's like that's not a mod. That's not a mod though, right? That's
okay.
It's a remaster.
Yeah, it's a remaster.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that it took them a while to release the second version of it, as they promised
the sequel.
So many other years. Yeah, well, the prequel, sequel,
one
to 2,
Mm-hmm.
and people were waiting for it, and they finally released it after so many years than when people were expecting it to be released.
Yeah, I mean that's happened in the past. I mean that happened with fucking Duke Nukem. I mean that happens with all kinds of shit.
Yeah, Forever was in development for 15 years.
Yeah. So, anyways, the next story I want to go on to is about Dell. In a recent presentation in Beijing, Dell's spokesperson stated that their new laptop was so powerful it could run multiple plugins for PUBG, allowing users to win more. All the while, a video is playing in the background showing their system running PUBG with these plugins, which, if you don't know, the plugins are cheats.
Yes, they are.
So Dell later responded to all of this after the story broke, saying that this example does not reflect their global gaming culture or strategy. We condemn any modifications misused in gaming. So,
Like, to be clear, this was delivered to this whole presentation was to, obviously Beijing was to Chinese customers.
yeah, it was at a games
And-
conference in
But-
Beijing,
and-
China.
And apparently there is some kind of like cheater culture in China
Yeah.
that just
Well, that's my thing is like, who's about to get fired from Dell? Because this had to be approved by someone. The video had to be approved. His statement, had to be approved, and someone somewhere within Dell knew exactly what they were showing and what they were advertising. So did Dell think that because this was in China, where a suspected 99% of PUBG cheats come from, that no one would notice? Or did they think because this is the home of cheats that no one would care and they would just turn a blind eye to it? That's the question, because there's no goddamn way that everybody was oblivious to the fact that these were cheats that they were showing. There's no way.
Well, you know what it might come down to is what I said before, is that the people at the tippy top don't know shit about this shit. And you talk to an executive or a CEO, plugins, oh, that sounds great.
Mhm.
Yeah, sure. So powerful, you can run multiple plugins. Multiple
Yeah,
plugins are good,
exactly. So it got approved by the higher ups, obviously, but someone somewhere knew exactly what they were showing. So I have a feeling that guy no longer works for the Dell Corporation.
But it
But
was a good way to the market, or everyone in that market,
mhm.
to let them know, hey, it works completely fine, and get him to buy the product. That was smart though. But
Oh,
dumb
yeah.
At the same time.
It was smart, except for the fact that it was a fucking games conference where there's a bunch of fucking, reporters and shit there that are going to be like, hey, so Dell supports cheating, especially considering, yes, while there's a huge cheating culture in China, the government themselves are trying to combat the shit and trying to make it stop. I mean, all of fucking Southeast Asia is trying to make this shit stop because of the horrible reputation that they have. They're trying to combat this shit. So it's just like, dude, that was a boneheaded fucking move. Whoever, said, hey, why don't we do this? But, that was just an interesting story that I've seen, and I was like, okay, I gotta fucking bring that up, because that is quite literally foot and mouth type moment. So the next thing I want to move on to is actually something from last week that we didn't get a chance to get to, and that is some of the news that we've had come out lately on Cyberpunk 2077, which is CD Projekt's next project. So what we know so far is that it's going to be an open world RPG. It is set in Night City, which is one of the places in the actual tabletop game. It is going to be first or third person. It is built for current and future gen consoles, which goes along with what Kaczynski said in regards to CD Projekt's philosophy of developing games, that they develop the best high-end games that they can. They're always going to push hardware to its maximum, which is great to see. That they're not just developing games for the current generation of consoles and the current generation of PCs, but they're going to push those to their absolute limit so that when that next generation does come out, you can still play it and it's still going to look amazing. There's going to be full character creation. There's going to be a variety of classes. No microtransactions whatsoever. It will be focused on single player. It's rumored that we're going to see some of the game at E3 this year, potentially some gameplay trailer, possibly. We'll see, because we've only had the one trailer, and it's, not very informative. I mean, really, they haven't released much information at all. These are just kind of little snippets picked up from statements made here and there. We're looking at a possible 2019 release. The game world is going to be much larger than Witcher 3, which is kind of mind-boggling because Witcher 3 was fucking massive. So to think that this game world is going to be even bigger, holy shit. Now the thing that makes me even more hopeful for this is that the gentleman that actually created this world, that created Cyberpunk 2077, turned down multiple offers from game studios to turn his project into a video game that he created back in the 80s. So he's been turning down game developers for decades. And he finally agreed to work with CD Projekt Red above everyone else. That's pretty nice to see. Now, we also know that the net will probably be a large focus in the game. Now, the net is basically what the Matrix was based on. You know, it's a world inside of a world. The classes for the game are very non-traditional of RPGs. You know, you don't have the traditional warrior, mage, ranger, so on. They're more societal roles. So things like hacker, businessman, CEO, doctor, things like that. There are going to be tech augments that are a large part of the world, so kind of like Deus Ex. And the original creator is working directly with CD Projekt Red to make sure that this sequel is true to his tabletop game. So, you know, that's quite a bit of information I just ripped through, but really in terms of the game, we don't have a lot of information. But my question to you guys is, one, are you excited for this game? Two, do you think it's going to improve the game, having the actual developer of the universe working with them side by side? I mean, to the point that he's helping write dialogue and shit for the game.
Currently
No?
watching
Okay.
the trailer right now, trying to learn more about this game. Looking at the pictures, looks quite fun to me, and makes me kind of want to wait and try to save some money for. Oh, you still there?
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, and I'm hoping that well, like I said, save some money. I remember back I was about saying before, but saving some money for this game to be released because it looks like something quite interesting. I'm trying to see what the storyline about the game is about. We'll try to get more knowledge of what the game may possibly be about. But I'm kind of excited for it now by looking at this trailer right now.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for it personally. It's one of the, again, we don't have a ton of information on it, but from what information we do have, I mean, it checks all the boxes for me. It's an open world RPG. It's first or third person, has character creation, multiple classes. Yeah, it in the future, something that we haven't really seen done much in RPGs, with exception to Mass Effect. You know, the writer of, or the creator of the universe is working with them. You know, it really checks all the boxes for me so far. So I'm definitely very, very excited for it.
And sorry.
Yeah, as Drum mentions, no co-op, so that's a big non-box. Well,
No, is the co-op?
They haven't said yet whether there's
okay.
co-op. They said that it does focus on single player, but we have no idea if that's, you know, quote unquote single player campaign is going to be, you know, are you going to be able to have like drop in, drop out co-op with your friends, kind of like Divinity or things like that? We just don't know yet. So, you know, as things unfold, we're going to find out more information about it, and, you know, there's still a lot left to, you know, to find out about the game.
Look like it'll be fun to do co-op, to be honest,
Oh, yeah.
especially if you battle those robots on there what I'm seeing right now.
Yeah,
Or not.
and you know, if in a traditional RPG sense, you know, if you have a party, a customizable party, you know, there's no reason why you couldn't do co-op and do like drop in, drop out co-op, like what Divinity Original Sin has, where, you know, your buddy just takes control of a character or creates a character, and then if they leave, you just now have control of that character. So we'll see. Again, you know, just waiting on information at this point. So the next story I want to go to is in the same vein of RPG games, and that is we're going to be seeing some new D&D games, video games.
Interesting.
Yeah, the family of Gary Gygax, one of the co-creators of Dungeons and Dragons, have announced that they're partnering with the crowdfunding platform Fig to bring his unpublished works to the video game world. Now, Gary Gygax developed D&D in the 1970s with Dave Arneson and Alex Gygax, Gary's youngest son. And Alex is taking the lead on this operation to bring his unpublished work to the video game world, and said he is determined to ensure future games stick to the spirit of his father's original work. And he was quoted as saying, "My father always had the intention of taking certain product lines and transferring them to the digital realm," which just makes me have a fucking hard-on from what the hell's the movie now? Shit, I just blanked.
From that line where he just said.
Yeah, to the digital
From your
realm.
imagination.
God damn it. Tron.
Ready
That's
to
it.
play it? Oh,
No,
I know how it
Tron.
feels.
What the fuck was the actual line from it? I can't remember. It's like something about pushing the limit to the digital realm or some shit like that. Anyways, so his father always had the intention of bringing these lines to the digital realm, but it never came to fruition. There are a few lines that he created specifically with that in mind. So published or unpublished, there's definitely the digital realm in mind with these lines. It's something that has been talked about for a very long time, and he's very excited to get this underway. Now, Fig, the crowdfunding platform that they're working with, is very different than most crowdfunding platforms in the sense that it allows its backers to share in the revenue of the games that they back. So it essentially turns all of the backers into shareholders and allows them to partake in some of the revenue from the games that they back, which is really cool. Fig CEO Justin Bailey said that we're thrilled to be working with the Gygax Trust to bring Gary's unpublished work, some of his most cherished and shared only with his closest friends, to gamers. So an exact date of when the campaign is going to begin hasn't been released. It will be sometime in 2018. But what do you guys think of this as far as, one, getting to see some unpublished D&D work, two, it's going to be crowdfunded, and three, we're finally getting some more D&D video games. What do you guys think about this?
Well, number one, it won't take that long for it to be released, and I'm pretty sure it will not fail because of the amount of money that's backing in towards it. So I'm pretty sure everyone else will be piped and excited about it being released as quickly as possible as soon as they start telling us when they're starting development of it.
Yeah, and yes, you do have to, like, whether or not you get revenue back from the game is dependent upon how much you pay in. But I'm not so quick to say that it's going to be a success. You look at the very much so failed attempts at D&D movies, what should be insanely successful considering they have the same amount of lore and support that the Tolkien universe have by a long ways. The D&D movies should be a total success, but they don't have, the same kind of weight behind it. They don't have a fucking Peter Jackson, heading up everything. So I'm excited for them. I definitely want to see them, but if they're not done right, it's great to have the D&D name up there. I mean, there's a D&D online MMO, or at least there was years ago, but it's dog shit. So just because it has, that very famous D&D red letters up above the name doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be good or it's going to be successful. I mean, you guys got any other thoughts on it? You think that this is a good idea to try and bring some of this unpublished D&D work to video games?
I definitely think it's a good idea to bring just any kind of unpublished work, honestly. Also, the format that you're doing it with the crowdfunding and the video game format, I think it's making it a lot more accessible to a lot of people. So I think this is a really good idea to try out. And if it is successful, it could open like a whole new realm of like D&D video games in general, which I think is going to be pretty exciting to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I'm excited to see it. I definitely want to check it out, but I don't have my hopes too fucking
Yeah.
high at this point.
Yeah, I would recommend being cautious and just
Wait a
kind of
minute.
seeing how it kind of goes.
Yeah. So this story I caught late last night, and I had to write it down. You kind of go back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier. So recently, Polygon released dropped a huge fucking rumor bomb, which was later backed up by Charlie Intel, stating that Call of Duty Black Ops 4, which was recently announced, will ship without a single-player campaign. Polygon's source claims that the campaign was cut because there simply wasn't going to be enough time to finish it prior to the October 12th release of Black Ops 4. And instead, Treyarch is apparently focusing on expanding the multiplayer element, to include their zombies mode and possibly some new co-op modes. Now, in Charlie Intel's report that was released a couple days after Polygon's report, claims that the no single-player campaign is indeed true, his source says. And also his source states that Raven Software, which is kind of a subsidiary of Treyarch at this point, has been put to work on a Battle Royale mode to fill the content gap of no single-player campaign. Now, this is not the first time that a Call of Duty title has released without a single-player campaign. The Xbox 360 and PS3 version of Black Ops 3 didn't have a single-player campaign. But Activision has yet to reveal how those versions sold on those platforms in comparison to new generation consoles and PC. So Activision also stated in March that it is keenly aware, end quote, of the success that other companies have had with the Battle Royale genre, and suggested that it's getting ready to take its own shot at it. So, everybody knows I'm not the hugest fan of Call of Duty, especially the last one, but I have still played every single one except I think Advanced Warfare or Advanced Warfighter or whatever. But I've played all of them for the campaign because they're basically like watching a fucking Michael Bay movie, but you're kind of involved sometimes. The last one I just couldn't get through because they tried basing it on real shit and a real military unit, and it just pissed me off. But the fact that they're talking about now just completely getting rid of the single player campaign, which in all fairness, they're known for only doing a 4 to maybe 6 hour long campaign anyway, so it's not like there's much content there. What do you guys think about the fact that, they're not going to have a campaign in the new Call of Duty? It's going to be purely multiplayer. And do you believe the statement that there isn't enough time to finish the campaign by the October release date, or considering how little their campaigns are? Or is this just kind of, yeah, we weren't going to be able to get it done in time, so we're going to focus on multiplayer, when in reality that's all they are going to focus on anyways? What do you guys think about that?
I never played Call of Duty once in my whole time. The game never interested me. But one thing I do love is multiplayer campaigns and single player campaigns. To me, it's just way much fun doing a game with another friend or someone else than doing it by yourself. Like ArmA 3 only has single player, not multiplayer for its campaign, which I really hated. But if I was a Call of Duty player, I would be fine with a multiplayer only game. But games like on console, I'm pretty sure sometimes you might need to have single players. Sometimes people just play them by themselves. So I'm playing with devil's advocate, thinking that maybe it wouldn't be. It probably should do single player. That way they could attract to both audiences. A lot of people to actually be able to play. But at the same time, I like playing games with other people, especially in the campaigns as well.
Well, I guess another question I have on this is there's been a lot of debate lately on whether or not a multiplayer only game justifies a $60 price tag. Should we pay the same price for a game that is multiplayer only that doesn't have the same amount of content as another game that does have single player aspects? And I know this, when this is released, it's probably going to bring that debate up all fucking over again. And people are probably going to say, because you know goddamn well Activision is going to charge full $60 price. They still charge fucking $60 for some of their Call of Duty titles that are like 8 years old. But, you know, this is going to bring up that debate all over again about whether or not we should pay full price for a game that is lacking any single player content. And myself, a lot of people are probably going to disagree, but I'm going to say yes. Reason being, we're willing to pay $60 for a game like Witcher that has no multiplayer, no online aspect whatsoever. If you play through that game once, one time only, maybe you get 40 hours of gameplay out of it. Okay, that's fine. If you feel that 40 hours was worth your $60, then great. A multiplayer only game like Call of Duty, you could very easily rack up hundreds of hours worth of gameplay if you enjoy that game and you enjoy that multiplayer aspect of it. Myself, I wouldn't. I would never rack up that much time in Call of Duty multiplayer. Some people will. They'll go well beyond that. And they can easily justify that $60. Now, that same person that only enjoys multiplayer and like team deathmatch type shit, I don't see them bitching and moaning that The Witcher 3 costs $60 and doesn't have multiplayer. I haven't seen that. But on the flip side of the coin, there's those of us that enjoy single player that anytime there's a multiplayer only game that comes out, bitch and moan, it's $60 and doesn't have any single player content. So it's, again, probably an unpopular opinion, but it's pretty fucking hypocritical to say, oh, well, that's a multiplayer only game, it doesn't deserve to be $60. I love this single player game that doesn't have any multiplayer aspect for you guys that like it. I'll fuck off, it's worth $60. That argument just seems really stupid to me. What do you guys think? Do you have a differing opinion?
Oh, so you're saying that you don't agree with the prices should be changed or should be less if it's a multiplayer only game? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you guys, if they think that someone playing multiplayer is going to get, there's $60 worth, so they say this game costs $60, I'm all for it. I don't think it requires having single player content to cost $60.
To me, the prices should basically just stay the same or whatever, because it doesn't. To me, if like you said before, single player and then single player only, and then the other games was just multiplayer only. It doesn't matter based on prices, just based off of whether or not you like the game or not. And if you love the game very much, you shouldn't really complain about the prices because it's worth your while and worth the money you spent. And if it's extremely enjoyable by yourself or with a friend, then it was worth your time spending the money that you needed to spend to play the game.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's weird to me that now anytime a multiplayer only game comes out, people flip the fuck out and they're like, oh, this doesn't deserve to be $60. Like I know there was a huge debate on that when Overwatch came out, and I can't get behind it. Loster, what about you? I want to hear your opinion on this. Loster's not there. Okay, good. So fuck his opinion. All right, so I guess we'll go ahead and finish this out tonight. The The last story that I wanted to go over, and there's actually another really big story that will have to wait until next week because I know it's something I'm gonna end up fucking going on a rant on for a good while in terms of these fucking YouTube whores. But the last story I want to cover is the success of A Way Out. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten to play it yet. I do want to. But A Way Out developer Hazelight Studios announced that the game has officially sold over 1 million copies in the first 3 weeks since release.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And this is much more successful than what EA ever thought it would be. Thanks to a marketing plan that leaked for the game last year, we know that EA predicted that the game would only sell 894,000 units total across its entire lifespan, and they've sold over 1 million in 3 weeks. So this far surpasses any expectations they had. So considering that the player count for A Way Out is actually double of what the units sold, because when you buy A Way Out, you get a free copy to gift to your friend, because the game can only be played with another person. It's a co-op only game, and they were genius in the fact of, hey, you buy the game, you get a free copy to give to your friend. Like, that's great. So, do you think that we could see other studios potentially taking a chance on pure co-op titles like this, given the success that this thing has had? Because it obviously didn't take that much to get this made when EA approved it, and they were expecting it to only sell less than 1 million copies over its entire lifetime, and they sold 1 million in 3 weeks. Are other game studios now going to look at this and say, oh, holy shit, this is something that could work? Maybe we could try and expand on this and, work on this co-op genre and do something of our own that, takes this into the next whatever.
That's like, why not follow the same way they did? Because if you notice how successful that was, and like the person said before, every other game copies the same way they create the game. Why not copy the way you market it? Because if this became successful, especially when they predicted it was about 800 or at least nearly 900,000 copies would be sold, based off their assumption with it being only multiplayer, only number one, and then a game was out. Have you ever played any other games that were like basically escape games from prison or somewhere near that genre, or no?
Probably the only one I played was Chronicles of Riddick: Escape from Butcher Bay back on the original Xbox.
This is something almost new, I guess, or somewhere near that kind of way. So they wouldn't think that since they're entering maybe a new market or whatever, that it wouldn't expect that much copies. But 1 million copies within 3 weeks, if they do the same thing that they just did, I'm pretty sure other games that be released can have the same amount of effect as what this had. And reading it and looking, Jesus Christ, the flies bothering me. Reading it and looking at the way the game is basically totaled out as, it is something that can be single player as well and multiplayer. And I'm sorry, I'm going off a tangent, because you can escape by yourself as well. But I think it may have somewhat of a good way where it's going. If I'm talking about the game personally.
Yeah. Well, my thing is, A Way Out has been very successful, and then very shortly after, this story breaks from Polygon about Call of Duty getting rid of the single player campaign, improving its multiplayer aspect, and potentially adding in co-op aspect. Which, to me, after I read this story about A Way Out and how successful it's been, and, then I immediately look up on my list and, oh, here's Call of Duty saying that they're potentially going to be adding co-op. I have to sit there and wonder, is
same thing?
Yeah, is Activision looking at the success of A Way Out right now and saying, hey, wait a minute, co-op is popular, maybe we should look into this? Like, I have to kind of sit back and wonder for a minute and think, yeah, maybe they're trying to, not necessarily cash in on the success of A Way Out, but realize that this is something that can be successful, and maybe we can make it work as well. So yeah, not a huge story, I guess, to kind of end with here, but something that I definitely thought was interesting. And considering my love for co-op games, I definitely hope it's something that we see, a trend that we see continue to rise.
Makes you hope for that for ArmA 4.
Yeah, right. Well, and then on top of everything, as we talked about at the top of the show, that Divinity Original Sin 2 won Best Multiplayer at the BAFTA Awards, and it won out over games like Overwatch and PUBG and Fortnite and stuff like that. And multiplayer in Divinity Original Sin 2 isn't PvP. There are times when you can PvP each other, but it's primarily co-op. So hopefully, those that are making decisions at these studios are looking at this kind of trend and saying, hey, this co-op thing could work for us. That's my hopes anyways. But that's
you played that game before, right?
What's that?
I think you stream it, Divinity?
Oh yeah, I played all the way
yeah.
through it. Me, Drum, Cherry, and Hammond. But that is going to wrap up the podcast for tonight. Like I said, there is another really big news story, but we'll have to save that for next week's podcast. And yes, we will be having the squirrel mission here shortly. So want to thank everybody for hanging out. Smith, Minnie, and Loster, thank you guys for joining me tonight.
Anytime.
No problem.
Definitely appreciate you guys coming to hang out, and all of you guys watching. Thank you for hanging out as well, and thank you for all of the support tonight. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and that's going to be it. I will see you all here in about an hour or so. Later.